What's up, everybody, and welcome to Yo ND. And we just got done watching Notre Dame take care of Navy 42-3. Went the way it should have gone, but I will let Frank and Mike talk to you a little bit about it and see what their thoughts are. Guys, what stood out to you the most? What did you like? Is there anything that was alarming to you? Let's just stick with what did you like. So, Mike, I'll let you go first. What did you like out of this first game versus Navy?
I was hoping that they would dominate physically. They did. It was clear their offensive game plan was the running game, be physical between the tackles. They did just that. Navy had no answer. Mixed in pass with Sam Hartman. They were very efficient with it. Defensively, I know Navy playing them is frustrating, but I believe they held them under 3 yards a carry, which is monumental. I know that was aided by the
That play,
mess snap. But still, you're looking at, what, 3.8, 3.9 yards carry. They held serve. They did what they had to do, dominated an inferior opponent, and they dominated the right way.
So Navy rushed for 128 yards on 47 attempts, and again, that's taken into account that play. You know, they had a few botched snaps and everything, so it comes down to 2.7 yards a rush. So definitely you can't complain with that when you're playing Navy. Frank, what excited you in Game 1 of 2023?
Well, this in direct contrast to the game last year, our ability to run the football between the tackles and the movement that we got in the run game. I mean, Navy's not a good team. Hats off to them. God bless them. But
it's not your normal Navy team.
Well, they're just the talent gap was huge. So Notre Dame did what they were supposed to do. They got a hat and a hat. They moved the line of scrimmage. And the other big difference, especially in contrast to last year's game, is it's clear that Hartman is an upgraded quarterback.
Yeah.
He got touched a lot. Navy got through with on some of the pass rushes.
I don't think it was that bad.
Well, the one play that stands out, that kind of stood out to me, was their touchdown drive in the third quarter where
that kid got blocked into his knees.
The blitzer came free. Hartman was able to sidestep, break, contain. He kept his eyes downfield, found Greathouse, who broke coverage off for the touchdown. Last year, I don't know if we're getting that same result. So the quarterback play was elevated. He got everybody involved in the game, and Notre Dame's got some talent at the skill positions, and Hartman made them extremely efficient. Defensively, it's kind of hard to gauge the defense when you're playing Navy because it's such a peculiar offense.
Jeff Kaiser played safety.
Why was he covering people? I think that was just because they were playing Navy, and that's what the formation dictated.
So, I mean, you had missed tackles, you had some missed assignments in the pass game. You know, Navy beat us to the perimeter a couple times, but again, it's such an off-the-wall offense. I don't think you draw any rash conclusions over that. Statistically, the defense held serve. So, yeah, this game went better than I expected.
I'll tell you what excited me is and I know it's Navy. We're going to put that with everything. We know it's Navy, but Gerald Parker definitely surprised me. The fact that they started off on 1st down and 10, the first play of the year under center, was huge. And if you look at the end of that series, you know, Notre Dame scored on the first possession. There was 8:26 left on the clock when they scored, so they essentially took 6.5 minutes off the clock.
It's a phenomenal drive.
Phenomenal drive. They rushed for 43. They passed for 48. And the other telltale sign of that, the telltale sign of being different than last year's, a lot of the runs early, especially early today, seem to be between the guards. And I know Logan Diggs is gone, but as Frank said, they do kind of have a stable of tailbacks. A lot of them are young, but they still manage to feature Estime and pound the football. And hopefully this carries over, week over week. So I know Tennessee State's coming to town next week. I mean, I think you can stick with a pretty vanilla game plan, and we'll get into that with the preview for that. But this was definitely exciting to see because we're used to Notre Dame kind of stumbling a little bit with Navy. So it was nice to do what you're supposed to do versus Navy. With that said, and Frank, I'll start with you. Is there anything that concerned you?
I guess if you wanted to nitpick,
Just nitpick. I know there's not a whole lot they showed that was negative, but
it was. I guess I was a little bit disappointed at Tobias Merriweather's lack of involvement.
drop ball. He had that drop ball.
Yeah,
early
drop
on the
off,
screen.
but there were a couple plays. He's a willing blocker in the run game, but they really need him to come along and be a factor in the passing game. And I think you saw with Deion Colsey. I mean, that kid, that touchdown pass to him last year, that's an 8-yard pass, and he's getting tackled. He breaks out of the tackle, and he's 6'4". He's a matchup problem, and then he raced everybody in the end zone.
I don't feel him as number 0 at all.
But
I don't feel it at all.
But he and Merriweather, if they come along, could be people that you really have to deal with.
Plus, they're huge.
They're
6'4", 6'5".
They are big guys that are extremely athletic. That's a dimension I'd like to see Notre Dame explore.
So what concerns you based on today? Real quick, give me an answer on what concerns you. Anything.
Safety play.
Yeah. And the excuse for that could be that they were looking at the run, and in the backfield you're playing Navy, we're coming up and we're cheating, and they got burned. But no, you're right. Out of anything today, safety play.
And like I said, it's nitpick, but not to single anybody out, but DJ Brown again losing a guy in coverage.
Clarence Lewis had some.
There were some missed tackles, but again, it's Notre Dame pursued well with the football, and for the most part, they kept plays in front of them. And the secondary, losing receivers and routes, you're going to get up against better teams with competent quarterbacks. That's a concern. But like I said, you held Navy to under 200 yards on offense and 3 points.
Mike, what's your concern? What concern?
The concern, and I think it's going to haunt us all year, it might not have been a glaring error today or a glaring concern today, but their defensive end play was not solid. They lost the corner frequently.
Good point.
Lost the edge. And honestly, I think, again, not to knock these players, they might be a little limited athletically at the edge position. At least it seems so today.
The total yards rushing for Notre Dame, I'm looking on ESPN, is 191 yards. That must be like sack adjusted, because I swear we were watching some that said they were over like 220.
No, they weren't.
They weren't?
Hartman wasn't sacked there.
Right, he's barely touched.
And the other interesting thing, Notre Dame scored 42 points, missed the field goal. What they have, 8 or 9 possessions for the whole game. They had.
Well, they weren't stopped till the second half. That missed field goal was the first time
they had 4 possessions in the first half. I mean, and it was like
punt before that.
No, not in the first
it was
half.
a mirror image of the 2016 game. But again, you go back to Hartman and good quarterback play. You find the end zone every time. I mean, it makes it simple when you got a guy that gets you into the right play and distributes the ball, and that's what Hartman did.
And I know we're saying it's just Navy, and everyone else will say it's just Navy, but the bottom line is last year we played the same just Navy team with a different quarterback, and it was a lot different. So Hartman, even versus Navy, if you're comparing, is definitely a step up. And even on the plays where he eluded pressure just for a little bit and extended the play, he was always looking. It almost looked like he didn't want to run.
He threw downfield.
Yeah, and he was always looking downfield. There was one play he could have gone, I think, for the first down, and it's when he threw the touchdown. I forget who it was to. It might have been Greathouse, but maybe it was a tight end. I don't remember, but he was rolling out. He definitely could have gone for a first down, and he threw it. And I was like, man, would Drew Pine have done that? And I'm not picking on Pine. Hartman's awesome,
I think what the difference is, though, we have a quarterback that clearly shows that he's had 5 seasons of high-level football under his belt.
Play calling is night and day.
Night and day. And I pray that continues. And Mike, you're absolutely correct. I mean, Tommy was a disaster last year in the second half in this game. I mean, it was hard. It was embarrassing. It's almost like he refused to change because, like, hey, I'm Notre Dame, you're playing Navy. Whereas today, I mean, we dictated everything. And unlike in years past under the Brian Kelly regime, we weren't using the pass to set up the run. I felt like today we used the run to set up the pass, and Navy knew it was coming and still couldn't stop it. That's what's refreshing about it. We didn't let a team like Navy load the box and us be like, oh, we got to throw. We were like, like, you know what, we're still going to go straight forward.
And I don't think it would have mattered. I mean, every time they ran between the tackles, Coogan, Spindler, Zekrell, I mean, it was a
Shout out
hell
to
on a half.
Spindler, too. I love seeing Spindler.
And they were moving people. So,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, I know different people have said about, you know, how athletic are they going to be, especially with pulling guards. But I'll tell you what, you get those guys head up on somebody, and they're road graders, you know, and you pull your tight ends, which Notre Dame did a couple times today, and to get people in space. So the offensive line played well, and the quarterback play was much improved.
As everyone knows, we did a pick'em show, and we had Notre Dame at 20.5. I think I picked the score to be 42-20. I think Mike was 48-14 or 49-14. Frank, I don't even know what the hell you picked. You picked Notre Dame 20.5. So
I was like thinking 49-28.
So we all won our pick here, which is awesome because we're going to keep a tally of that. With that said, it was 42-0, and Navy kicks that field goal there with, what was there, 3 minutes left? There might have been less. 2.5 minutes left. Was it 4th and goal?
Yeah.
So they were at what, the 13, 14 yard line?
They were at the 13.
Okay,
they wanted to get something on.
To let everyone know here, we've had a little argument within UND. Frank feels that the field goal attempt was warranted, being that they were so far away, and Navy, of course, isn't built for that type of play. Mike, on the other hand, and we have a Marine veteran downstairs who's also on Mike's team.
Shout out to Fleazy. He has no dog in this fight.
No, he's a Penn State fan, actually, which is
he's a Penn State fan.
Stupid.
He's a Marine. He understands a lot of the players on the field today for Navy will end up being Marines. And he was a little perturbed, and he's 100% right, that you're teaching these kids to wave the flag. A Marine dies on the hill.
I agree. You go for that. It's 42-0. Just go for it. Try and make a play. Frank, why don't you make your case here?
And it's a bigger thing than football, and that's Fleazy's point.
Frank's anti-American here when he makes this case.
D-A-G-L-E-S, Fleazy.
That's a little over the top.
No, if you think about it, it's not, right?
Had they been inside the 10-yard line,
this is the anti-American take.
Navy's going for it. But you don't walk out of there getting shut out. They wanted to get something.
For it. You go for it.
Coach Ken ain't kicking it.
Who was it? Virginia?
Whoever that new coach is,
Coach Ken
ain't kicking it.
Isn't where
that's a Brian Kelly one. That's 2010 Tulsa.
Now listen, in 2021 when Notre Dame was at Virginia, didn't Virginia kick a field goal real late to avoid it? It was 28-0.
Yeah,
didn't they kick a field goal really late?
Yes.
How'd that end for them?
And again,
28-3. I mean,
the similarity.
Talk trash about beating Virginia.
The coach.
Is he gone? What's his name?
Bronco Mendenhall? Yeah.
But they had no Brendan Armstrong in that game. And
right. So it's 28-0, dude. What are you
and
doing?
you're at home.
Don't take the goose.
And they're not even future Marines defending this country. That's what you're teaching.
And let it be said.
You think Al-Qaeda's kicking a field goal?
Let it be said we did the same thing in the 2008 USC game. So.
All right, and that was Weiss. Yeah. The guy's a loser.
Yeah, loser.
You're right. No, you're right. You're proving our point on that. That guy's a loser. I agree. You go for it if you're Navy. I don't know what you're doing. You're in Ireland. You're playing Notre Dame. And who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah,
you were supposed to lose.
Go for it. It's the message you're sending your kids that point forward. And this is your first game as the coach at Navy, Frank.
Let's not make too much out of it. It's fine.
I mean, that's it. That's the end of it.
42-3. It's in the books. It's a big improvement over last year.
It was a great game. You can't complain about it.
Next week's a controlled scrimmage, and then we're going to see when we go down to NC State how far along we think they might be.
If they stick with that game plan,
they're going to whoop their ass.
They're going to whip.
If they come out like that,
there's a little bit of reason for optimism despite the opponent. It's the way Notre Dame acts.
They took care of business. They did what they needed to do, and that's refreshing because many times in the past, as you guys know, Notre Dame has not done what they need to do. So that was cool. Is there anything else that maybe you were hoping to see today and you did not? Is there anything that you
For me, no. That was physical
I
domination.
Agree.
That's what
I agree. No, I agree. They did anything
they checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
Defense, offensively, I guess if you wanted, as Frank says, nitpick. Let's do something more on special teams, I guess. But
there was nothing.
There's nothing else to do
other
than returning
special teams. But kudos to Notre Dame for going over there and taking care of business and being prepared and executing. Every play they ran, they executed. Did we have
one penalty?
One
It was in the
penalty,
first half.
No turnovers.
and I think our only lost yardage play may have been that check down to Jabron Payne. I maybe one negative rushing play, but I don't think so.
So the Irish had 20. Just a real quick breakdown. The Irish had 27 first downs to Navy's 12. ND went 5 of 7 on third down and 1 of 1 on fourth, whereas Navy was 4 of 14 on third and 3. I think it was 3 of 4 on fourth down. They were all like fourths and ones though.
That's a normal.
Yeah. Total yards though. Irish 444, Navy 171. Of the Irish's 444, 253 were through the air, 191 on the ground. Navy, of course, didn't have anything passing. It was 43 yards on 3 of 7 with 128 yards rushing.
You held 128 on the ground.
2.7 yards a rush on 47 attempts.
Even without the bad snap, you held them under 200.
Yeah. Pretty clean game though. No turnovers either way. 4 penalties between the two, 3 of which came from Navy.
Yeah.
And you know the time of possession at the end of the day, Navy was at 33 and Notre Dame was at 26. So just a real crisp, clean game, which you just cannot complain about if you're a Notre Dame fan, because obviously we've seen the flip side of it. Hartman 19 of 23 for 251 with 4 touchdowns. Jesus. And Jelly threw a pass. I didn't know that. He was 1-1 for 2 yards.
He ran an RPO.
Yeah.
I must not have seen it.
Yeah, they just wanted to get him in the stat sheet. It was the second to last play of the game.
So real quick, before we wrap this up, obviously we're pleased with Notre Dame. Here's just one thing I want to bring up, and obviously we're Notre Dame fans, so we've grown accustomed to seeing Navy every single year. This Navy team, I'd hate to throw this dude under the bus. It's one game, but they just did not look like Navy at all. And a lot of the plays they were running in key moments, they're doing the gadget plays. It just didn't make sense. It's like you're playing into the hands of Notre Dame, and they're going to have a long year if that continues.
Like I said yesterday, a lot of the great Navy teams over the last 10 or 20 years
Had a quarterback.
have had good quarterback play, and unfortunately, they're just not blessed with that at this time. And that's going to be a struggle for them all year.
Is there anything else you guys want to add? I mean, there's really not a whole lot to go over here. It was kind of just a business, yeah, which is great. We love having this type of discussion after a game. So just want to say thank you to everyone. Again, like, subscribe, comment if there's anything you want us to cover. These guys have like every piece of Notre Dame memorabilia known to man. So if there's ever a program or something you want them to show you, like a 63 Iowa program, a game that was never played, just give us a shout out. So with that, UND Raps is going to wrap up. We will catch you, next Friday. We'll have kind of a preview for Tennessee State as much as we can, and maybe we'll throw in a few short videos this week like we did last week. Check out our other videos. You'll never know if there's something that you'll like. Mike's program collection is insane. This guy has the first Navy program ever, and then the dedication program to Notre Dame Stadium, which was actually the second game played there. Who'd they play game 1? SMU, but for some reason the dedication game is game 2, which was versus Navy. He has that in the other video, which is super cool. And the 63 Navy program with Roger Staubach. That's the game that they beat Notre Dame before the 43-year win streak by the Irish. So thanks for checking us out. Notre Dame's 1-0. As always, go Irish, and check in with us.